Prime Minister, it's the first big ballot box test for you since the general election when you won that landslide on the change message. But this Thursday could be pretty different. Your polling is bad. You're on the ropes at the Runcorn by-election. You're not the change?
We've got a really positive case to put to the electorate at the elections this Thursday. Record investment in the NHS, waiting lists coming down, investment in other public services, the measures we're taking on the cost of living, with wages going up, and dealing with things that really matter, like potholes. We're in Lancashire at the moment. That's one of the biggest issues here. But look, yes, of course it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be tough. Most governments after a general election face a tough set of local elections at the first sort of opportunity afterwards. And of course, we've had to take tough but right decisions.
Boris Johnson did quite well in 2021, didn't he?
Well, 2021 was, we were in the middle of COVID and a vaccine was coming down the track, and I think we all remember what that was like. Okay. Of course, we'd come off the back of a bad general election in that particular case. But look, the fight here is between Labour and Reform, and we're talking about waiting lists coming down in the NHS. Reform wants to charge to use the NHS. They've got a pro-Russia foreign policy, and they talk about workers' rights, and then when they get the opportunity, they vote them down every time in Parliament.
I mean, I think Nigel Farage actually said they need to look at the funding system. I don't think he said charged yet, but I haven't got time to. I've got one more question I'm allowed to ask you, so let me crack on. NHS, better story to tell. You've put loads of funding in, the waiting lists are coming down, and that's clearly what you want to highlight. But the immigration record of your government is shocking. The number of illegal migrants crossing the Channel in small boats is set to pass 10,000 potentially today. That's more arrivals recorded between January and April this year than in any equivalent 4-year period since this data became monitored in 2018. It's appalling, and Reform are going to absolutely smash you up on it, aren't they?
Well, it's a serious problem. There's no doubt about that. The last government lost control of our borders. We have to now take the necessary steps. My strong belief is that we need to take down the gangs that are running the trade of putting people into boats. That's why we're passing the Borders Bill. That gives much greater powers to our law enforcement. The Tories actually voted against that, if you can believe it. But also what we've done is to put an intense focus on removing people who've no right to be in this country. So 24,000 have been returned since we've had a Labour government. That's the highest for nearly a decade. I'm not going to duck your challenge, which we've got to do more, but I think passing the legislation to get those stronger powers, making sure we remove people who shouldn't be here, and working with other countries are the way to do it. We're doing that really intensely.
Are you more worried about Reform than the Conservatives?
Look, I equally would challenge either of them. The Tories have got a terrible record, 14 years of failure. Reform moan about everything but have got no answers. And at the end of the day, Reform and the Tories, there's all this talk about them getting together and merging. I mean, if you're a Tory voter who doesn't want a pro-Russia foreign policy, how does a merger with Reform work for you? If you're a Reform voter that thinks the Tories failed for 14 years, how does a merger or coalition with the Tories work for you? Both sets of voters are being conned because behind the scenes and behind the leader of the opposition, other people are looking for a coalition of these two parties. It would be a disaster for Britain.
Okay.